Play on Words, a theatrical podcast. Please turn off all outside distractions so as not to disturb the performance. For the best audio experience, we recommend using headphones for tonight's production of 6 Characters in Search of an Author, Part 1.
What a silly little
Irish.
way. I'm so excited to do this. This is my first radio production. I can't
Irish
believe
response.
it's...
Oh, hello.
Does it...
I
Peter
don't
Piper
understand this script. What is this about?
You know,
I
I just need water. I really only read my lines, so I
Leo
couldn't tell you, but
Oh, I think everything looks great.
I think it has something to do with
understanding.
Leo
Being
Gala.
completely
I
honest.
think it's absurd. Who the heck is Leo Gala
Italian
anyway?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know why they don't have
I
a
wasn't
female
prepared for that.
lead. I mean, really, at this point in time, well past due.
Well,
I think you're going to do great, though.
I just don't know how much of this I
Thank
can
you so much.
understand.
Oh, I'm just so happy.
I'm not used to this. I'm not used to this at all.
I can't hear anyone. Let's have the microphones, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, at once.
Come along, come along. Second act of mixing it up.
Our setting is Leo Gala's house. A curious room serves as dining room and study.
Turn the microphones down. I can hardly hear myself think over all the static.
Microphones down. All right.
The table in the room is laid. There is a writing desk with books and papers. Bookshelves line the walls. Exit rear to Leo's bedroom. Exit left to kitchen. Principal exit to right.
Strike those last directions. Those concerning the exits, they have no place in the radio version.
Right.
When the curtain rises, Leo Gala, who should speak with an Italian accent, is busy beating an egg in a cup. Philip, employing the same affectation of speech, is beating another egg. Guido Venazzi is seated and listening.
Excuse me, but must I speak with an accent?
I'd say so. It's an Italian play, after all.
But it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous? Is it my fault if France won't send us any more good comedies? And we're reduced to putting on Pirandello's work, where nobody understands anything, and where the author plays the fool with us all? Yes, sir. You put on the cook's cap and beat eggs. Do you suppose with all this egg-beating business you were on an ordinary stage, so to speak? Get that out of your head. You represent the shell of the eggs you are beating.
Oh, he's really getting into
He's
it now.
pretty scrambled, I think.
Silence! And listen to my explanations, please. The empty form of reason without the fullness of instinct, which is blind. You stand for reason, your wife is instinct. It's a mixing up of the parts, according to which you who act your own part become the puppet of yourself. Do you understand?
I'm hanged if I do.
Neither do I. But let's get on with it. I'm sure it'll be a glorious failure anyway. But I say, please face 3/4, otherwise, what with the obtrusiveness of the dialogue and the public that won't be able to hear you, the whole thing will go to hell. Come on, come on!
Pardon, sir. May I move? There's a bit of a draft.
Yes, yes, of course.
What are we doing here? Where's this author you speak of?
Why? I don't want to be here. Oh, God. God. Too much. Too much.
Excuse me, sir.
What? What is it?
These people are asking for you, sir.
I am rehearsing, and you know perfectly well no one's allowed to come in during rehearsals. Who are you? Please, what do you want?
As a matter of fact, we have come here in search of an author.
An author? What author?
Any author, sir.
But there's no author here. We aren't rehearsing a new piece.
So much the better. So much the better. We can be your new piece.
Oh, do you hear that?
Yes, but if the author isn't here, unless you would be willing...
Are you trying to be funny?
No, for heaven's sakes, what are you saying? We bring you a drama, sir.
We may be your fortune.
Will you oblige me by going away? We haven't time to waste with mad people.
Oh, sir, you know well that life is full of infinite absurdities, which, strangely enough, do not even need to appear plausible since they are true.
What the devil is he talking about?
I say that to reverse the ordinary process may well be considered madness. That is, to create credible situations in order that they may appear true. But permit me to observe that if this be madness, it is the sole raison d'etre of your profession, folks.
So our profession seems to you one worthy of madmen, then?
Well, to make seem true that which isn't true, without any need for a joke, as it were, isn't that your mission, folks? To give life to fantastic characters on the stage?
But I would beg you to believe, my dear sir, that the profession of the comedian is a noble one. If today, as things go, the playwrights give us stupid comedies to play and puppets to represent instead of men, remember, we are proud to have given life to immortal works here on these very boards.
That's right.
Immortal, that's right.
Tell them.
Exactly. Perfectly. To living beings more alive than those who breathe and wear clothes. Beings less real, perhaps, but truer. I agree with you entirely.
But what do you mean? Before you said...
No, excuse me. I meant it for you, sir, who were crying out that you had no time to lose with madmen, while no one better than yourself knows that nature uses the instrument of human fantasy in order to pursue her higher creative purpose.
Very well, but where does this take us?
Nowhere. It is merely to show you that one is born to life in many forms, in many shapes, as tree or as stone, as water, as butterfly, or as woman. So one may also be born a character in a play.
So you and these other friends of yours have been born characters?
Exactly. And alive as you see. I am sorry you laugh, because we carry in us a drama, as you can guess from this woman here veiled in black.
Oh, chuck it. Get away, please. Clear out of here. For heaven's sakes, turn them out.
All right, this way, sir.
Too much.
Come on, little
Too
But
You don't want to trip, sir.
No.
Watch your step.
No. Look here.
This way.
We come here to work, you know.
One cannot let oneself be made such a fool of.
I marvel at your incredulity, folks. Are you not accustomed to seeing the characters created by an author spring to life in yourselves and face each other? Just because there's no book which contains us, you refuse to believe.
Believe me, we really are 6 most interesting characters, sir. Sidetracked, however.
Yes, that is the word. In the sense, that is, that the author who created us alive no longer wished, or was no longer able, materially to put us into a work of art. And this was a real crime, sir, because he who has had the luck to be born a character can laugh even at death. He cannot die. The man, the writer, the instrument of the creation will die, but his creation does not die. And to live forever, it does not need to have extraordinary gifts or to be able to work wonders. Who was Sancho Panza? Who was Hamlet? Yet they live eternally because, live germs as they were, they had the fortune to find a fecundating matrix, a fantasy which could raise and nourish them, make them live forever.
That's quite all right, but what do you want here, all of you?
We want to live.
For eternity?
No, sir. Only for a moment. In you.
Just listen to him.
They want to live in us.
I've no objection as far as this one is concerned.
Why, thank you.
Look here. The comedy has to be made. But if you and your actors are willing, we can soon concert it among ourselves.
But what do you want to concert? We don't go in for concerts here. We put on dramas and comedies.
Exactly. That is just why we have come to you.
Uh-huh. And where is the book?
It is in us.
Come on.
The drama is in us, and we are the drama. We are impatient to play it. Our inner passion drives us onto this.
My passion, sir. If you only knew. My passion for this man here.
Behave yourself, and please don't laugh in that fashion.
With your permission, folks, I, who am 2 months orphan, will show you how I can dance and sing. Fera Jacques, Fera Jacques.
Bravo.
Silence! This isn't a cafe concert, and besides, your dancing is wasted on radio. Is she mad?
Mad? No, she's worse than mad.
Worse? Worse? Listen, stage this drama for us at once. Then you will see that at a certain moment, when this little darling child here, isn't she a dear? Darling, darling. Well, when God suddenly takes this dear little child away from that poor mother there, and this imbecilic boy here does the stupidest things, like the fool he is, you will see me run away. Yes, folks, I shall be off, but the moment hasn't arrived yet. After what has taken place between him and me, I can't remain any longer in this society, to have to witness the anguish of this mother here for that fool, the son. Look at him! Look at him! See how indifferent, how frigid he is, because he's the legitimate son. He despises me, despises this young boy, despises this baby here, because we are bastards, and he doesn't want to recognize her as his mother, she who is the common mother of us all. He looks down upon her as if she were the only mother of us 3 bastards. Wretch!
In the name of these 2 little children, I beg you. Oh, God.
Quick! A chair for this poor widow!
Is it true? Oh, has she fainted?
Quick, a chair. Here.
Look at her! Look at her!
No, stop it, please.
Raise your veil and let them see you!
Please do not look at me. I beg you, sir, to prevent this man from carrying out his plan, which is loathsome to me.
I don't understand at all. What is the situation? Is this lady your wife?
Yes, folks. My wife.
But how can she be a widow if you are alive?
Don't laugh. Don't laugh like that, for heaven's sakes. Her drama lies just here in this. She has had a lover, a man who ought to be here.
No.
Fortunately for her, he's dead. 2 months ago, as I said. We are in mourning, as you see.
He isn't here, you see, not because he is dead. He isn't here. Look at her for a moment, and you will understand. Because her drama isn't a drama of the love of 2 men for whom she was incapable of feeling anything except possibly a little gratitude. Gratitude not for me, but for the other. She isn't a woman, she is a mother, and her drama, powerful, sir, I assure you, lies, as a matter of fact, all in these 4 children she has had by 2 men.
I had them. Have you got the courage to say that I wanted them? It was his doing. My own husband gave me that other man who forced me to go away with him.
It isn't true.
Not true, isn't it?
No, it isn't true. It just isn't true.
And what can you know about it?
It isn't true. Don't believe it. Do you know why she says so? For that fellow there. She tortures herself, destroys herself on account of the neglect of that son there, and she wants him to believe that if she abandoned him when he was only 2 years old, it was because he made her do so.
He forced me to do it, and I call God to witness it. Ask him if it isn't true. Let him speak. You, my daughter, are not in a position to know anything about it.
I know you lived in peace and happiness with my father while he lived. Can you deny it?
No, I don't deny it.
He was always full of affection and kindness for his bastard son. It's true, isn't it? Tell them. Why don't you speak, you little fool?
Leave the poor boy alone. Why do you want to make me appear ungrateful, daughter? I don't want to offend your father. I have answered him that I didn't abandon my house and my son through any fault of mine, nor from any willful passion.
It is true. It was my doing.
What a spectacle.
Oh, we are the audience this time.
For once, in a way.
Hush! Let's hear them out. Listen.
Oh yes, you're going to hear a fine bit now. He will talk to you of the demon of experiment.
You are a cynical imbecile. I told you so already 100 times. He tries to make fun of me on account of this expression, which I have found to excuse myself with.
Yes, phrases.
Phrases! Isn't everyone considered when faced with a trouble or fact he doesn't understand by a word, some simple word, which tells us nothing and yet calms us?
Even in the case of remorse. In fact, especially then.
Remorse? No, that isn't true. I've done more than use words to quieten the remorse in me.
Yes, there was a bit of money, too. yes, a bit of money. There were the 100 lire he was about to offer me in payment, folks.
This is vile.
Vile? There they were, in a pale blue envelope on a little mahogany table in the back of Madame Pace's shop. You know Madame Pace, one of those ladies who attract poor girls of good family into their ateliers, under the pretext of their selling robes et manteaux.
And he thinks he has bought the right to tyrannize over us all with those 100 lire he was going to pay. But which, fortunately, note this, folks, he had no chance of paying.
It wasn't your thing, though, you know.
Shame, my daughter. Shame.
Shame indeed. This is my revenge. I am dying to live that scene. The room, I see it. Here is the window with the mantels exposed. There the divan, the looking glass, a screen. There in front of the window, the little mahogany table with the blue envelope containing 100 lire. I see it, I see it. I could take hold of it. But you, folks, you ought to turn your backs now. I'm almost nude, you know. But I don't blush. I leave that to the old man.
I don't understand this at all.
Naturally enough. I would ask you, sir, to exercise your authority a little here and let me speak before you believe all she is trying to blame me with. Let me explain.
Ah, yes. Explain it in your own way.
But don't you see that the whole trouble lies here? In words, words. Each one of us has within us a whole world of things. Each one of us has our own special world. And how can we ever come to an understanding if I put, in the words I utter, the sense and value of things as I see them? While you who listen to me must inevitably translate them according to the conception of things each one of you has within himself. We think we understand each other, but we never really do. Look here. My wife takes all my pity for her as a specially ferocious form of cruelty.
But you drove me away.
Do you hear her? I drove her away. She believes I really sent her away.
You know how to talk, and I don't, but believe me, Mr. Manager, after he married me, who knows why, I was a poor, insignificant woman.
But good heavens! It was just for your humility that I married you. I love this simplicity in you. You see, she denies it. Her mental deafness, believe me, is phenomenal. The limit, deaf. Deaf, mentally deaf. She has plenty of feelings. Oh yes, a good heart for the children, but the brain? Deaf, to the point of desperation.
Yes, but ask him how his intelligence has helped us.
If we could see all the evil that may spring from good, what should we do?
Excuse me, but are we going to rehearse today?
Of course, but let's hear them out.
This is something quite new.
Most interesting.
Yes, for the people who like that kind of thing.
Hey!
You must please explain yourself quite clearly.
Very well then. Listen, I had in my service a poor man, a clerk, a secretary of mine, full of devotion, who became friends with her. They understood one another, were kindred souls in fact, without, however, the least suspicion of anything evil existing. They were incapable even of thinking it.
So he thought of it for them.
That's not true. I meant to do good to them, and to myself, I confess, at the same time. Things had come to the point that I could not say a word to either of them without their making a mute appeal one to another with their eyes. I could see them silently asking each other how I was to be kept in countenance, how I was to be kept quiet. And this, believe me, was just about enough of itself to keep me in constant rage, to exasperate me beyond measure.
And why didn't you send him away, then, this secretary of yours?
Precisely what I did, sir. And then I had to watch this poor woman drifting forlornly about the house like an animal without a master, an animal one has taken in out of pity.
Yes.
It's true about the son, anyway, isn't it?
He took my son away from me, first of all.
But not from cruelty. I did it so that he should grow up healthy and strong by living in the country.
As one can see.
Is it my fault if he has grown up like this? I sent him to a wet nurse in the country, a peasant, as she did not seem to me strong enough, though she is of humble origin. That was, anyway, the reason I married her. Unpleasant all this may be, but how can it be helped? My mistake, possibly, but there we are. All my life I've had these confounded aspirations towards a certain moral sanity. Oh, stop it. Stop it, I can't stand it.
Yes, please stop it, for heaven's sake.
But imagine moral sanity from him, if you please. The client of certain ateliers like that of Madame Pace.
Fool. This is proof that I am a man. This seeming contradiction, folks, is the strongest proof that I stand here a live man before you. Why, is it just for this very incongruity in my nature that I have had to suffer what I have? I cannot live by the side of that woman any longer, but not so much for the boredom she inspired me with as for the pity I felt for her.
And so he turned me out.
Well provided for. Yes, I sent her to that man, folks, to let her go free of me.
And to free himself.
Yes, I admit. It was also a liberation for me. But great evil has come of it. I meant well when I did it, and I did it more for her sake than mine. I swear it. Did I ever lose sight of you until that other man carried you off to another town, like the angry fool he was? And on account of my pure interest in you, my pure interest, I repeat, that had no base motive in it, I watched with the tenderest concern the new family that grew up around her. She can bear witness to this.
Oh, yes, that's true enough. When I was a kiddie, so high, with plaits over my shoulders and knickers longer than my skirts, I used to see him waiting outside the school for me to come out. He came to see how I was growing up.
Infamous. Shameful.
No. Why?
Infamous, infamous! After my wife went away, my house seemed suddenly empty. She was my incubus, but she filled my house. I was like a dazed fly alone in the empty rooms. My son was educated away from home, and when he came back, he seemed to me to be no more mine. With no mother to stand between him and me, he grew up entirely for himself, on his own, apart, with no tie of intellect or affection binding him to me. And then, strange but true, I was driven, by curiosity at first, and then by some tender sentiment, towards her family, which had come into being through my will. The thought of her began gradually to fill up the emptiness I felt all around me. I wanted to know if she was happy in living out the simplest daily duties of life. I wanted to think of her as fortunate and happy because she lived far away from the complicated torments of my spirit. And so, to have proof of this, I used to watch that child coming out of school.
Yes, true. He used to follow me in the street and smiled at me, waved his hand like this. I would look at him with interest, wondering who he might be. I told my mother, who guessed at once, and then she didn't want to send me to school for some days, and when I finally went back, there he was again, looking so ridiculous, with a paper parcel in his hands. He came close to me, caressed me, and drew out a fine straw hat from the parcel with a bouquet of flowers, all for me.
A bit discursive, this, you know.
Literature, literature.
Literature indeed. This is life. This is passion.
It may be, but it won't act.
I agree. This is only the part leading up. I don't suggest this should be performed. She, as you see, is no longer the flapper with plaits down her back.
And the knickers showing below the skirt.
The drama is coming now, sir. Something new, complex, most interesting.
As soon as my father died,
There was absolute misery for them. They came back here, unknown to me, through my now former wife's stupidity. It is true she can barely write her own name, but she could anyhow have got her daughter to write to me that they were in need.
And how was I to divine all this sentiment in him, the father? That is exactly your mistake. Never to have guessed any of my sentiments, after so many years apart, and all that had happened.
Was it my fault if that fellow carried you away? It happened quite suddenly, for after he obtained some job or other, I could find no trace of them, and so, not unnaturally, my interest in them dwindled. But the drama culminated unforeseen and violent on their return, when I was impelled by my miserable flesh that still lives. Ah, what misery, what wretchedness is that of a man who is alone and disdains debasing liaisons. Not old enough to do without women, and not young enough to go out and look for one without shame. Misery? It's worse than misery. It's a horror. For no woman can any longer give him love, and when a man feels this, what not to do without, you say? Yes, I know. Each of us, when he appears before his fellows, is clothed in a certain dignity. But every man knows that inconfessible things pass within the secrecy of his own heart. One gives way to the temptation, only to rise from it again, afterwards, with a great eagerness to re-establish one's dignity, as if it were a tombstone to place on the grave of one's shame, and a monument to hide and sign the memory of our weaknesses. Everybody's in the same case. Some folks haven't the courage to say certain things, that's all.
all appear to have the courage to do them, though.
Yes, but in secret. Therefore, you want more courage to say these things. Let a man but speak things out, and folks at once label him a cynic. But it isn't true. He is like all the others, better indeed, because he isn't afraid to reveal with the light of the intelligence the red shame of human bestiality on which most men close their eyes so as not to see it. Woman, for example, look at her case. She turns tantalizing, inviting glances on you. You seize her. No sooner does she feel herself in your grasp than she closes her eyes. It is the sign of her mission, the sign by which she says to man, "Blind yourself, for I am blind."
Sometimes she can close them no more, when she no longer feels the need of hiding her shame to herself, but, dried-eyed and dispassionately, sees only that of the man who has blinded himself without love. Ugh, all these intellectual complications make me sick, disgust me. All this philosophy that uncovers the beast in man, and then seeks to save him, excuse him, I can't stand it. When a man seeks to simplify life bestially, throwing aside every relic of humanity, every chaste aspiration, every pure feeling, all sense of ideality, duty, modesty, shame, then nothing is more revolting and nauseous than a certain kind of remorse. Crocodile's tears, that's what it is.
Let's come to the point. This is only discussion.
Very good, sir. But a fact is like a sack which won't stand up when it is empty. In order that it may stand up, one has to put into it the reason and sentiment which has caused it to exist. I couldn't possibly know that after the death of that man, they had decided to return here, that they were in misery, and that my wife had gone to work as a modiste, and at a shop of the type of that of Madame Pace.
A real high-class modiste, you must know, folks. In appearance, she works for the leaders of the best society, but she arranges matters so that these elegant ladies serve her purpose, without prejudice to other ladies who are, well, only so-so.
You will believe me, folks, that it never entered my mind that that old hag offered me work because she had an eye on my daughter.
Poor Mamma. Do you know, sir, what that woman did when I brought her back the work my mother had finished? She would point out to me that I had torn one of my frocks, and she would give it back to my mother to mend. It was I who paid for it, always I, while this poor creature here believed she was sacrificing herself for me and these two children here, sitting up at night sewing Madame Pace's robes.
And one day you met there?
Him. Yes, sir, an old client. There's a scene for you to play. Superb.
She, the mother, arrived just then.
Almost in time.
No, in time. Fortunately, I recognized her in time, and I took them back home with me to my house. You can imagine now her position and mine, she, as you see her, and I who cannot look her in the face.
Absurd! How can I possibly be expected, after that, to be a modest young miss, a fit person to go with his confounded aspirations for a solid moral sanity?
For the drama lies all in this, in the conscience that I have, that each one of us has. We believe this conscience to be a single thing, but it is many-sided. There is one for this person and another for that. Diverse consciences. So we have this illusion of being one person for all, of having a personality that is unique in all of our acts. But it isn't true. We perceive this when, tragically perhaps, in something we do, we are as it were suspended, caught up in the air on a kind of hook. Then we perceive that all of us was not in that act, and that it would be an atrocious injustice to judge us by the action alone, as if all of our existence were summed up in that one deed. Now do you understand the perfidy of this girl? She surprised me in a place where she ought not to have known me, just as I could not exist for her, and she now seeks to attach to me a reality such I could never suppose I should have to assume for her in a shameful and fleeting moment in my life. I feel this above all else, and the drama, you will see, acquires a tremendous value from this point. Then there is the position of the others. His...
Leave me alone. I don't come into this.
What? You don't come into this?
I've got nothing to do with it, and don't want to have. Because you know well enough I wasn't made to be mixed up in all this with the rest of you.
We are only vulgar folk. He is a fine gentleman. You may have noticed, Mr. Manager, that I fix him now and again with a look of scorn while he lowers his eyes, for he knows the evil he has done me.
I?
You! I owe my life on the streets to you! Did you or did you not deny us, with your behavior, I won't say intimacy of home, but even that mere hospitality which makes guests feel at their ease? We were intruders who had come to disturb the kingdom of your legitimacy. I should like to have you witness, Mr. Manager, certain scenes between him and me. He says I have tyrannized over everyone, but it was just his behavior which made me insist on the reason for which I had come into the house, the reason he calls vile into his house, with my mother, who is his mother too, and I came as mistress of the house.
It's easy for them to put me always in the wrong. But imagine, folks, the position of a son whose fate it is to see arrive one day at his home a young woman of impudent bearing, a young woman who inquires for his father, with whom who knows what business she has. This young man has then to witness her return bolder than ever, accompanied by that child there. He's obliged to watch her treat his father in an equivocal and confidential manner. She asks money of him in a way that lets one suppose he must give it to her. Must. Do you understand? Because he has every obligation to do so.
But I have, as a matter of fact, this obligation. I owe it to your mother.
Well, how should I know? When had I ever seen or heard of her? One day there arrives with my stepsister, that lad and this baby here. I'm told, this is your mother too, you know. I divine from her manner why it is they have come home. I had rather not say what I feel and think about it. I shouldn't even care to confess to myself. No action can therefore be hoped for from me in this affair. Believe me, Mr. Manager, I'm an unrealized character, dramatically speaking, and I find myself not at all at ease in their company. Leave me out of it, I beg you.
What? It is just because you are so that...
How do you know what I'm like? When did you ever bother your head about me?
I admit. But isn't that a situation in itself? This aloofness of yours, which is so cruel to me and to your mother, who returns home and sees you almost for the first time grown up, who doesn't recognize you but knows you are her son. See? You've made your mother cry.
Like a fool.
This girl can't stand my son, you know. He says he doesn't come into the affair, whereas he is really the hinge of the whole action. Look at that young lad who is always clinging to his mother, frightened and humiliated. It is on account of this fellow here. Possibly his situation is the most painful of all. He feels himself a stranger more than the others. The poor little chap feels mortified, humiliated at being brought into a home out of charity, as it were. He is the image of his father. Hardly talks at all. Humble and quiet.
Oh, we'll cut him out. You've no notion what a nuisance boys are on the stage.
He disappears soon, you know. And the baby, too. She's the first to vanish from the scene. The drama consists finally in this. When that mother re-enters my house, her family born outside of it, and shall we say superimposed on the original, ends with the death of the little girl, the tragedy of the boy, and the flight of the elder daughter. It cannot go on because it is foreign to its surroundings. So after much torment, we three remain. I, the mother, that son. Then, owing to the disappearance of that extraneous family, we too find ourselves strange to one another. We find we are living in an atmosphere of mortal desolation, which is the revenge, as he scornfully said, of the demon of experiment that unfortunately hides in me. Thus, sir, you see, when faith is lacking, it becomes impossible to create certain states of happiness, for we lack the necessary humility. Vaingloriously, we try to substitute ourselves for this faith, creating thus for the rest of the world a reality which we believe after their fashion, while actually it doesn't exist. For each one of us has his own reality to be respected, even when it is harmful to one's very self.
There is something in what you say. I assure you it all interests me very much. I begin to think there's the stuff for a drama in all this. Not a bad drama either.
When you've got a character like me.
You be quiet.
It's new? Yes.
Absolutely new.
You've got a nerve, though, I must say, to come here and fling it at me like this.
You will understand, sir. Born as we are for our roles...
Are you amateur actors, then?
No. I say born for the roles because...
Oh, nonsense. You're an old hand, you know.
No, sir. No. We act that role for which we have been cast, that role which we are given in life. And in my own case, passion itself, as usually happens, becomes a trifle theatrical when it is exalted.
Well, that will do. But, you see, without an author... I could give you the address of an author, if you like.
No. Look here. You must be the author.
I? What are you talking about?
Yes, you. Why not?
Because I have never been an author, that's why.
Then why not turn author now? Everybody does it. You don't lack any special qualities. Your task is made much easier by the fact that we are all here alive before you.
It won't do.
What? When you see us live our drama...
Yes, that's all right, but you want someone to write it.
No. Someone to take it down, possibly, while we play it, scene by scene. It'll be enough to sketch it out at first, and then try it over.
Well, I am almost tempted. It's a bit of an idea. One might have a shot at it.
Of course. You'll see what scenes will come out of it. I can give you one at once.
By Jove, it tempts me. I'd like to have a go at it. Let's try it out. Come with me to my office. Actors, you're at liberty for a bit, but don't step out for long. In a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, all back here again. All right, sir, we'll see what can be done. Who knows if we don't get something really extraordinary out of it.
There's no doubt about it. My family, they had better come with us too, hadn't they?
Yes. Come on! The rest of you, be punctual, please.
Is he serious? What the devil does he want us to do?
This is rank madness.
Does he expect to knock up a drama in 5 minutes?
Like the improvisers.
If he thinks I'm going to take part in a joke like this...
I'm out of it anyway.
I should like to know who they are.
What do you suppose? Madmen or rascals?
And he takes them seriously.
Vanity. He fancies himself as an author now.
It's absolutely unheard of. If the stage has come to this, well,
It's rather a joke.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen next.
It's absolutely absurd. I don't know who these people think they are.
What does he want to do?
I don't get it. Does he think that this is some weird experimental
Sir,
off-Broadway
but
stuff like we were doing Art Town last year?
They think they can just walk up off the stage and take our rehearsal time. My time is valuable,
So,
you know.
Exactly.
After all, I'm really hoping nothing goes too south.
It's
But,
being
I mean,
wasted.
plenty of people do improv stuff, right?
Absolutely.
It's gotta
I'll be
work out,
calling
right?
the rep tomorrow morning first
I'm an
thing.
actor.
Good idea. They'll
I
listen
don't
to
do
you.
improv.
Thank you.
This has been part 1 of 6 Characters in Search of an Author by Luigi Pirandello. English version by Edward Stauber. Adapted for audio by Travis Barkefelt. Directed and sound designed by Soren DeNiz. Audio editing by Melissa Black. Stage managed by Travis Barkefelt. Featuring the voices of Jon Hartwell as the manager, Tracy Lynch as stagehand, Shauna Fahad as narrator, Leah Stauber as leading lady, Grant Jones as leading man, Linda Stayer as actor, Phillip Fry as the father, Karlee Mihailov as the stepdaughter, Amari Shakir as the mother, AJ Whitman as the son. Theme music for Play on Words by Christ Clark. Listen more at christclark.bandcamp.com. Play on Words podcast is produced by Glass Fox Productions, an audio storytelling company by Soren DeNiz and Mackenzie L. Martin. To support future productions, go to ko-fi.com/glassfoxproductions. Thank you for listening and for continuing to support the arts. Good show, everybody. Good show.